What's poppin'? Real ones. Logan Murdock here. Roger Bell there. Howard Beck and the motherfucking Pat. Cliff on the boards. Little reunion from our sold out live show from 2 weeks ago. I just want to give space really quickly to two things. One, an incredible ending in Oklahoma City last night with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We can talk about that in a second. And I just want to also give space to the Detroit Pistons. 7 straight wins. I just want to I want to give space to that. Guys, let's give compliments really quickly before we get into how bad two teams are faring right now in the Eastern Conference. Howard, what do you think about, let's go with the Pistons first. We don't talk about them that much. Can we just give them flowers really quickly?
Yes, we absolutely should. I think this is their longest winning streak in like
a decade.
Incredible. And the thing is, like, we talk about, like, we'll get into the Knicks in a little bit, and there's a lot of Knicks fan angst out there. The Wizards fans, there's like seven of them in the whole world. They've been through it. Like a lot of fan bases go through it. The Pistons fan base has just been through freaking hell for the last decade plus, 15 years or so. Like, yes, they are playing their butts off. Cade Cunningham is making some sort of possible bid for all NBA. I haven't done the math on the 15 all NBA slots yet. It's too soon. But Cade Cunningham has been fantastic. Props to JB Bickerstaff for, being kind of the I don't know how to frame it sometimes with a coach in the way that they turn something around, but establishing a new culture is the easy way of framing this, right? He got the buy-in. He got everybody playing hard. Health has played a role in this too, in their emergence this year. Going for veterans that I didn't quite honestly think fit at the time. Like, what do the Pistons want with Tobias Harris? But they needed that stability with their youth. Like, everything has kind of fallen into place. And some of this might just be natural growth from the young guys. Some of it may be just a change of voice in the coaching spot. But especially for Bickerstaff, because like he really got the Cavaliers on track. They built a foundation that Kenny Atkinson is now getting to build on top of in Cleveland. And Kenny got all the love in the early couple months of the season for good reason. JB Bickerstaff has done an incredible job. Like, it's the two of them probably for coach of the year. But the Pistons have been awesome. They're fun. They're spry. I thought they might make a move this season up the standings, but not this far. As we speak, they're 6th. Like, if the season ends it today, they're actually legitimately in the playoffs, not going through the play-in route. And it's great to see. It's been fun.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo some of the stuff Howard said. Like, first for JB, great basketball family, had done a really good job in Cleveland. Like, obviously Cleveland's great this year, not taking anything away from Kenny Atkinson, but like, I'm happy to see him continuing to be a great coach and continue to get opportunities. I think we talk about it a lot on the show, is finding the good and right blend of like young, youthful, real talent and veterans that can still play, that have a professionalism about themselves that helps that young core kind of continue to grow. You mentioned Tobias, and I mean Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, they've got guys there that have really, I mean, at other stops, not necessarily been celebrated, but are like really meaningful pieces to what they have going on there. And I just think that's an important thing for organizations as they continue to try to develop that young talent, is to find people to put around them that are good pros, that teach them the ropes, and maybe not even teach them the ropes, but just continue to help them elevate and develop. And I'm just happy all the way around for them. So a pretty cool story.
Pretty dope, man. And want to give space also to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
The bag was fumbled. The bag was fumbled last night. No, are we like
the bag was fumbled? It was one of those things. Like, when you first see it, you're like, damn, Minnesota might be turning the corner, which they are. But it didn't. It could be
no disrespect.
Nothing. It could mean It could mean nothing. It could mean anything. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, that's good. I didn't mean any disrespect either. I think they're playing well, and they kept playing, which like gives you a chance.
With Ant on the floor, off the floor.
Yeah, most teams are done. Most teams at that point are done. Like, they're like, hey man, chalk this shit up. Like, we're just gonna. Yeah. They kept hooping, so I don't mean to take anything away from them. That's a weird one where I think it's just one of those weird nights in the NBA, bro. You just fumbled the bag.
Yeah, bless the sideline reporter's heart in Minnesota, who at the end of the game. That she had Ant. I forgot the other two that was there. But on a hot mic, Ant's out here cursing. And then she asked him how he did with the how did he feel about the game? He was like, "Shit, don't ask me, ask them." It's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, I like that though. Hey man, acknowledge, man. Like I know I get all the interviews, but like spread the love.
And Edwards' block though, the block.
And incredible on
awesome.
Shea.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool block.
That's one of the coolest blocks I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so we're talking about the Pistons to start the podcast, and if the season ended today, you know who they would be playing in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs? Any guesses? Don't even look. The Knicks. That's my transition. Let's fucking go.
Well
Don't even
done.
trip. You know what I mean? Still got it. Now, on the surface, you know, you just look at the Knicks' pristine 37-20 record. You know, orange and blue skies. Tims are getting clocked together. Shout out to all the boroughs, including People's Republic of Brooklyn, which Howard proudly resides. And you would think it's good, but it is not. The Knicks got their ass whooped on Friday in Cleveland by 37. Then proceeded to get their ass whooped 2 days later against the Celtics on Sunday. They're 0-5 against this season against the Celtics and the Cavaliers this season, with an average margin of defeat of 21 points. Now, I think over the years, the Knicks have been a real one's favorite. Probably because I just love watching the Knicks when they're great, or not even great, even when they're very good, because I don't think they've been great over the last few decades. But they finally have found a consistent core to go to the postseason year in and year out. But Beck, in true Knicks fashion, they seem to have hit a ceiling of their own doing. What is your confidence level that they can turn the tide against great teams? And what happens and what are the ramifications if they don't?
Man, this is such a really interesting moment for the Knicks, and I think for their fans too. Like, as a franchise, as a fan base, like, things have never been better, or it's been a long time since they've been better than the last couple of seasons, right? Like, they're on pace to crack 50 wins again. I think they're on pace for like 53, 54 wins. If they get there, and I think they will, it'll be their first back-to-back 50-win seasons since the mid-90s. Like, that's a huge thing. For
Howard, how old were you then? You're about 25.
I was already 72 in the mid-90s. This is their best period of time, since the 90s Knicks, the heyday, the Patrick Ewing days, the John Starks, Oakley, Larry Johnson. Like, in New York, those teams did not win championships, but it never got better than that in the modern era than the 90s,
Wait,
right?
They didn't win championships during the 90s? I could have swore they won at least one title if you talk to Knicks.
I've been living here for 21 years. I can tell you, like, as far as anybody here is concerned, they won all of the championships. The way the 90s are discussed. But I'm not here to tweak Knicks fans. But the weird thing about this moment is, here they are in the midst of this renaissance with a really fun, lovable team, right? Like, they play their butts off. They play through injury. They play a lot of minutes, maybe too many minutes. And yet, instead of them being celebrated right now as they were a year ago at this time, and last spring when they make that run to the second round for the first time in forever, there's all this kind of hand-wringing, like, maybe we're not good enough. I mean, you mentioned it. So 0-5 against Boston and Cleveland by a massive losing margin, over 20 points per game. They're 0-2 against the Thunder, too, for what it's worth, because if you got to the finals, that's the team, obviously, that everybody thinks you may be facing. And those haven't been close either. So you're 0-7 by a massive losing margin against the three best teams in the NBA. And so by this point, as you're in late February, it's hard to dismiss all that and not just say, like, there's a clear line of delineation. There's the contenders, and then there's the Knicks in that second tier, which is not a terrible thing, by the way, especially considering where you've been for the last 20 years. But I think this is what happens, right? The high wears off eventually of we broke through. We're relevant again. We're great again. We're in the mix. We're in the conversation. To all of a sudden, crap, we might not be good enough, and then it's everything that's wrong. It's Tibbs and his rotations, or the length of minutes he's playing guys, or it's Towns and his defense thing, something you knew at the moment you acquired him. Like, it starts to become everything that you're not. And I'm just going to be curious the next couple of months how the Knicks continue to progress through this, how the fans deal with it. Because as of right now, like nothing's final on February 25th, but as of right now, I think you kind of put a line above them and say, like, the line for true contender cuts off before you. But Mitchell Robinson's presumably back sometime in the next few days. We'll see what kind of impact he makes and how many minutes he can play and how often he plays with Cat to make up for all of Cat's defensive liabilities. And we'll see. There may still be another iteration of them this season.
Roger Beck brought up a good point just about, when a team is good, we always talk about when a team is a year ahead of schedule, right? And I think that definition you can loosely put on last year's team. But can you describe that pressure that comes with what you have to do in the seasons after that year ahead of schedule? Because we saw that with the Hawks a few years back, right, where they make this conference finals run out of nowhere, darlings of the league, then they kind of falter in the seasons after that. The Knicks haven't necessarily done that, but just against the top teams. But that speaks to the pressure, though, right? Like, what is that like on a year in and year out after you have the year ahead of schedule year?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always been an element of pressure anytime you have a good season as a core, and you're excited about flowing into the next year and the trajectory. There's going to be some pressure. I obviously haven't lived under the pressure cooker that is social media and media in general today, where everything is an immediate knee-jerk, blow it up. They can't do it, or there used to be a day and a time where the pressure was there, but it wasn't a final indictment on who the team was. You were allowed a little bit more space to kind of grow and maybe not get it done this year. I mean, in today's sports culture, like, if you're not winning it when they want you to win it on the time frame that they expect you to win it in, they blow it up. This can't work. Got to scrap it and try again. And so, really, Logan, to answer your question, I don't know how difficult it is. But there is always an element of pressure when you achieve, playoff status, or maybe overachieve playoff status coming into that next year. I would just, for kind of all the reasons Howard and you described in terms of what Knick fan has gone through over the last decade or so, look, just Mike D'Antoni used to say, like only one team's going to win a championship, but if you're not going to win a championship, at least be exciting and be a product that the fans want to come see and the city can rally around. Because there's so much more than just playing basketball that goes into winning a championship. We've gone through that on this pod before. So enjoy it. Like, do I see them winning the Eastern Conference and coming out of it? No. I think they're squarely in the tier below, Cleveland and Boston. That doesn't mean that they can't find a way to do it. But let's not, as a fan base, not enjoy what's going on right now, because we're worried about
on fire right now.
Yeah,
though.
Dude, come on, man. Like, let's enjoy that.
I want to go to a Knicks game. I don't care what Howard says.
But I mean that. I really do mean that. Like, as a fan base, I mean, especially a fan base that's dealt with what they've dealt with, in recent past, like, enjoy this. Maybe they don't get it done this year, and maybe there are some fundamental flaws in the team that have to be fixed, and we'll address that. But enjoy the process, dude. Enjoy it.
I always said about,
go ahead.
Just real quick, I just wanted to play off one thing Roger said about the Suns. It was really interesting at the time when Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni got together and the Suns take off, and they went this narrative path from being the darlings of the league. Oh my God, they're so exciting. They're so much fun. They're winning in a way that we really haven't seen in today's NBA. They don't play much defense, but they're blowing teams off the court. Now they've got a puncher's chance. Can they beat the Spurs ultimately? Not sure, but we'll see. And at the end of it all, by the time that era ends and D'Antoni is dismissed and everything else happens, it became about all the things that they couldn't do, right? And especially, the defense part of it, which, by the way, at the time we did not have defensive efficiency. We were still in a points per game era. And so it was like, oh, they're giving up so many points. Yeah, because they played a faster pace than anybody else. But when you adjusted for pace, as we do today, wisely, they were like middle of the pack most of those years in defensive efficiency. But the bottom line was what Raja just said. They were fun. They were exciting. And they were a perennial 50 to high 50 win team. I think they cracked 60 one year. Like, if you asked any fan base, especially one where they had not won championships in a long time or had not been relevant in a long time, I'm going to guarantee you a 4-year span where you go to the conference finals twice. You were the most fun team in the league by far. You're going to win 50 plus games a year. You're not going to win championship. Would you take it? And most fan bases, I think, in a heartbeat, unless you were Laker fans who expect nothing but championships, or Bulls fans of a particular era, or the Spurs of that era, most fan bases would take that. And I think that's where the Knicks are right now, where it's like you need the perspective of history here. Remember what your franchise has been through, and if you're old enough to have experienced some of the torture and dysfunction, if you got a 4-year span of 50 wins a year, and maybe, an appearance or two in the conference finals, even if you didn't win a championship, if you knew that ahead of time, you would take it based on where you'd been. And I think that's the perspective that's necessary in these conversations.
I'm just to add to that. Like you have a team that's out there playing, producing, no glaring issues with someone not giving great effort, or not putting forth, the level of intensity that you want as a fan base. Like, you don't have those issues, and you just can't get over the hump. I would ask you to look at it from like a player's perspective, because you said most fans would sign up for that, Howard. I don't know that players would, because players like always want to win the championship. But I'm here to tell you definitively, like, those were the most fun years of my career. Like, I was having a blast playing in that, competing. Do you want to win a championship? Sure. But the reality is, like, you have to enjoy it. Like, it's fleeting. The career from a player side too. So when you're on an exciting team that has a puncher's chance, that could win on any given night, and you have a crowd that respects that and enjoys it with you, and isn't like, booing you prematurely or pressuring the organization to blow it up in a way that makes working, not fun. That's a fun experience for everyone. Like, the Valley, like, people ask me who I would associate with as a player. I always say Phoenix, because like, I felt like part of that town. Like, we all enjoyed that together, not just the fans, but the players too. Like, sure, we want to win a chip, but man, this shit is fun and we're on this ride together. So, I would just say it even from the player standpoint, like echoing what you're talking about, like, hey man, enjoy that. Enjoy the runs. Like, yeah, we have to tinker. We got to get better. There's some shit we have to do defensively. We trust organization to make the moves, to shore us up. But man, enjoy the run, because like, there are no guarantees, even as players, that you're going to get that championship.
Question though, Raja, in the moment, how likely is it for a player to be in the moment and enjoy that run while it's happening, as someone that was in that position?
Well, not likely. I mean, perspective is everything, right? So like, I'm sitting here at closer to 50 than 40, and I can tell you that, but that's why I say it, right? Like, for anyone that would be listening to this, like, in my younger self, I would have appreciated someone saying to me, hey dude, like, yeah, there's always going to be something that you can complain about leaving X, Y, and Z game, or leaving X, Y, and Z season. But, take a step back and appreciate all the good. Like, you guys have just won 17 in a row. Like, maybe they didn't swing that ball to the corner, but is it that big of a fucking deal? Like, maybe you guys lost in the Western Conference Finals and that sucks. And we're going to go back to the drawing board. But look at the season, look at the meals, look at the time spent together. Like, those are real things. These are people's lives, right? Like, from a player's perspective. Now, I'm not talking about the fan now. This is your life. So if you're not going to enjoy it and soak it in and enjoy the people you're with and try to make meaningful relationships, you're wasting your life. Like we're hooping. And if the only thing that matters is winning a championship, we are wasting our life there. Like we have to enjoy that. And we have to find the balance between, producing at a level that can help us win a championship and enjoying ourselves. And that would be for anybody, I guess, in any workforce. I've been fortunate enough to, most of my life has revolved around sports, but like finding the balance between being productive and doing what you need to do for whatever business to be successful, but enjoying yourself and soaking that up. Like that's life, right?
Look at you waxing poetic, man.
Hey, man,
Look
I'm just saying.
You're in your fucking bag, dude. You're in your
I'm
bag.
saying that shit goes really fast. It goes really fast. And if you look, listen, this is going to be, to some degree, I think Kobe, if he were here, people talk about how he, some of the younger generation got to see him in a different light when he stepped away from the court. Right. And he was able to kind of take some of those guys under his wing and impart wisdom and shit like that. But he spent his entire career being like a maniacal like winner and stuff like that. Right. And it worked for him. But I bet there's a part of him that would have been like, if looking back at it with 20 years in the rear view, maybe open up a little sooner.
Took that dinner with my teammates. Maybe I would have.
No, like real talk. Like we all have that.
Yeah. Okay, I hate to ask this question on the heels of Raja just speaking so eloquently about life and basketball and perspective. But Howard, obviously this season is going to be defined by the move that the Knicks made preseason to get Karl Towns. How much will that haunt them if things go awry this season?
So a little while after we finish this pod, I'm doing the Knicks Film School pod with my buddies Jonathan Macri and Andrew Claudio, and I asked them for some topics ahead of time, and right off the top, it's about it's the Towns trade. It's like it has to be, right? Like if you hit a moment like this, if it looks like you just hit a brick wall, which is what it looked like. This weekend was the Knicks brick wall. The Cavs and Celtics getting blown out both times. It's oh shit. We had a breakthrough season. We added two big pieces in Towns and Mikal Bridges. Hopes of a title run. And as of right now, it just looks like we've hit some impassable obstacle here. And I think it's natural to then start questioning the moves made. But the perspective is important here. How far were you going with Julius Randle as your second best offensive player? I think they've probably already gone as far as they were going to with Julius Randle. I think Minnesota is already grappling with what to do to move on from Julius Randle. Towns was an upgrade. Towns was an obvious upgrade overall and certainly offensively. But I've said from the beginning, the biggest thing that happened to the Knicks last summer was not necessarily trading all the picks for Bridges. That was a big bet that they made. We can judge that on its own. It's not necessarily trading Randle and DiVincenzo and a pick for Towns. It's that they could not keep Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yep. And
that was a cap thing. They did everything possible to keep him. They didn't choose to let him go. They did not underbid him, undersell him in any way. They just couldn't pay as much as the Thunder could. It happens in a salary cap league. And so the rules worked against them. When you lose Hartenstein, now you had this great 1-2 punch at center with him and Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson's on the shelf because of surgery. He's still not back yet. So you lost your great 1-2 punch that gave you a ton of stuff at center. Shot blocking, rim protection overall. In Hartenstein's case, just a ton of offensive rebounding and passing, playmaking. And then the character of last year's Knicks team was a lot of Brunson, Hart. I think DiVincenzo was part of that. Hartenstein was part of that. So you lost two of the guys who were kind of the glue guys who got you deep in that second round series despite all the injuries with all their toughness and hustle and good vibes. So the character of the team changed. The personnel changed. And you couldn't backfill the center part of it, especially the defensive element. And so I don't think it means that the Towns trade was a mistake. Like you're as of right now, you're no better or worse off than you were last season. And by the way, we're still months from the playoffs. You might actually get to the conference finals. It could happen. Maybe you even get to the finals. Things are weird in this league. Things break your way. So it's too soon to judge it. And under the circumstances, I'm not going to say it's a deal they had to make, but it was a deal that was logical to make. I actually think if you're going to start second guessing either of the big trades from last summer for the Knicks, maybe it was all the picks for Bridges. That's the one that's going to haunt you more because you don't have any assets left to spend. One of the other questions that, I'm going to probably be addressing on the Knicks pod later today, and that the Knicks are going to have to grapple with this summer is, if we don't get where we want to go, what's next? Who else can we get? Well, you're capped out for years to come here, and you don't have a lot to trade because you sent out most of the assets to get Bridges and to an extent Towns. So like, there's not a lot of flexibility or optionality, as we like to say in the NBA, left for this team.
I'm with you on that, Howard. Like the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, I mean, we could do that, but like Julius Randle, that's an aesthetics thing for me, right? You're basically in the same place as an organization as it relates to winning the East. So like, do you like to see more of an offensive, like productive type of team, or do you want to see one with less of a ceiling in that regard? Like, I don't think it moved the needle much, but the Mikal Bridges one kind of strapped you in a way that doesn't give you a ton of flexibility. I do think it's interesting though, like as much as I love Jalen Brunson, like this is when you have a relatively small guard that is so integral to your team's success offensively. I mean, historically, I mean, you got to pair that with like an elite type of wing or it's hard to win. We had this conversation about Dame and CJ McCollum.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just
see that also in Memphis with Ja.
Word. Like I'm not taking anything away. That's just a very hard recipe to get right. Like now Steph was able to do it to some degree the last time they won the chip, but like, he had a great Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins was playing really well. Like, he had some support years before that. Like he did it way back in the day, but then he had KD riding with him shotgun. Like it's just way harder for teams to do it when that's the focal point of your offense. And that doesn't mean they can't. It's just what it is.
I also think there's just too much on Brunson still, right? Like Karl-Anthony Towns is an elite offensive player, but he's not a shot creator, right? Like he's not the guy you like. Brunson goes to the bench and it's fine. We'll just give it to Towns for the next 10 minutes. They don't have that second guy. Like look at Boston's got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White and Drew Holiday at a different level, step down, but like so many guys who can handle the ball and do something with it, right? The Cavs have the 1-2 punch of Mitchell and Garland. And then you're going to get some stuff out of Evan Mobley too. The Knicks don't have anywhere else to go. And I actually thought when they first got Bridges, because Bridges can play a little kind of, I don't want to say point forward, but ish, and played a little bit that way with Brooklyn, I thought you could maybe have him be in a little bit of that role where Brunson goes to the bench and maybe Bridges runs the second unit a little bit the way that Iguodala used to with the Warriors. Maybe that's just not, I haven't seen it much. And I think that, like, if there's anything I think the Knicks still need, yeah, of course they could use a shot blocking center, rim protector next to Towns. Of course they could use, various other elements. But I think more than anything, it's the hardest thing to get, which is you need one other great to elite shot creating, scoring player and probably a bigger wing. And those just aren't that easy to come by.
Yeah, that's a probably better way to put it, Howard, because it's a little unfair. He just needs help, right? And it needs to be in a bigger, like someone who can get to the cheese like he gets to it offensively in a bigger body to complement what he does, because he's fantastic. That's just a lot of work for a dude that size to beat NBA teams like that almost single-handedly some nights offensively.
Whew, this got depressing. This got sad.
They're going to win 53, 54 games, and they're
sad.
going to have a chance in the playoffs to make some noise. Like I actually don't think it's that sad.
You know what's
Honestly.
sad, though? The opponent that they're going to have on Wednesday night, who we are going to talk about on the other end of the break.
You're so proud of yourself. Look at that.
The Sixers are 20-37 after losing big to the Chicago Bulls last night. To add insult to injury to injury to injury, Joel Embiid is considering surgery on his knee. this is after a summer where the Sixers acquired Paul George, and I had people telling me that, hey, there's going to be 2 celebrations down Broad Street in Philadelphia. We got one of them with the Sixers, which is what with the Eagles, which is what I've been trying to tell Cliff. He was at that Nets game where Embiid sat out some extended time and ruffled some feathers and furrowed some brows. Howard, where are we with the Sixers? Also, I should note that it's not all bad for the Sixers. If they continue these losing ways, they will be in prime position to keep their first round pick, which is top 6 protected.
That's priority number 1 right now. That's priority number 1.
Wait, question, Raja, before I get to Howard. Raja, right now, do you have your military grade hat? Do you have your military instructions? And are you in the tank right now? Are you ready to go? Are you just driving through places?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I hijacked that a little bit. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You did hijack.
Yeah,
but I went to Howard, and then you got to your point.
I
You said,
hijacked that.
fuck
Go.
out of here. So I'm giving it. No, go ahead.
No. I just wanted to, for me, priority number 1. Go, Howard.
They said the segment was supposed to be 2 to 5 minutes, and you went towards the 2 minutes of this segment, Roger. What the fuck? We're trying to have some discourse here. Can you just, when I get to the tank question, can you answer the tank question?
Yeah, let me do that. Look.
All right.
Why
Howard,
he's still
okay? All right. Just,
my bad.
Roger,
I'll go. I'm sorry, but why is he still playing? I got a couple. Why is he? Who would have thought? Right? When people told you this summer, who had any idea Joel Embiid was going to come back looking like that, starting the season off with all the silliness in the media and everything like that, and I guess they might have known,
catch fades with journalists and stuff,
right?
In the locker room.
But the average fan wouldn't have known his knee was as bad as it is. So I thought that there was some cause to be optimistic and think that adding Paul George would help them get to another level. At least I was in that camp. I at this point, why is he still playing? Right? That's I have no idea why you're still playing him. Go ahead and shut him down and get him right. And then when that domino falls, yeah, I'm in the tank. Let's not that this pick that we have is protected, and we're gonna make sure we protect it.
Sit Paul George as well while you're at it.
Right. Listen,
but you can't explicitly do that though in the modern NBA. They have to actually be injured. Embiid can sit out. I don't know. And I know that Paul George is injured.
Paul George told you he got an injury.
Okay.
He's got a finger. He's been telling you about it, right?
Joint.
Yeah, easy money.
Yeah, we're long past the days of Greg Popovich putting down DNP old for Tim Duncan once upon a time and getting a good lashing from David Stern and a big old fine. There's a time for just cold-hearted pragmatism in this league, and this is it. This is the moment for cold-hearted pragmatism. This is the moment where if Embiid needs knee surgery, there's no point. The season's toast. It's gone. It is lost. And I was a Sixers optimist, and as Raja knows, because we talked about this while you were still on leave, Logan, even after the rough start to the season, even after all the nonsense in the locker room with Embiid shoving a columnist, even after everything, I said, listen, calm down, everybody. If the Sixers just get healthy for a stretch of time with their big 3 all healthy, because they're very top heavy with Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, they just need to be healthy, and those 3 should be really good. And they just need a stretch of time where they're healthy. Well, they haven't had any real stretches of time where all 3 have been healthy and functioning. And yeah, it does look like things have pretty much gone off the rails at this point. And Paul George,
hold on, Howard. I just got to say this, man. And I appreciate your eternal optimism, and I appreciate.
I'm off of that. I'm telling you right now, I'm off of that. I'm just noting that was my stance in November, December.
Getting on your head from the shit that you said in September is all I'm saying. I never had optimism for this group, man. If you watched Embiid over the
cool.
summer,
run your victory laps when you weren't even on the pod for 3 months.
I couldn't say this shit. But then you put your trust in Paul George as your savior, like he was going to
not
be
a
good
savior. He just had to be complimentary.
No, fuck all that. They put all these things. Paul George tells you who he is every time in May and April. We can't even say what he tells in June because he's never showed you because he's never gotten to that point. Right? And then you pair him with Embiid, who's also never showed you that he can make it to the promised land. ever in his career, right? Then you put hold on, because I got to get this off, man, because I'm sorry, man. A lot of people have been saying that the Sixers, and this is what we do every time in the summertime. Sorry, Cliff. We always anoint these teams that ain't got no business being anointed based on the players they
Nobody
have on their
anointed
roster.
them.
Howard. Let's go back to even.
I said they were a contender. That's not anointing.
Nah. People was out here blowing smoke up the Sixers' ass, saying that they were going to be good and they were going to compete. And by compete, they're at the point right now in their trajectory where it's finals or bust. They were second round, and that was it. That was their ceiling based on the top players that they had on their roster in Paul George and Joel Embiid. I refuse to believe that they are going to be a team that contends based on what I have seen from the top players that you are relying on to be pushing you to contendership. I am tired of trying to give these two people the benefit of the doubt year in and year out when they have not earned it. I'm sorry. That is my rant for October edition of Real Ones, because I am sick of tired of the smoke being blown up the ass of the Sixers because they have not earned it based on the players that have been on their roster in Paul George and Joel Embiid. We keep giving them the benefit of the doubt when they don't deserve it. I am tired of it. I'm sorry. Rare Logan rant, but I am sorry. It's this always happens every offseason when everybody's like, oh, Paul George is going to be it. He's going to put this team over the top. Oh, Joel Embiid, if you just had a chance. No, every season it goes down the way it goes down, and we keep blowing smoke, and I'm just tired of it.
Cool.
Sorry.
Well, I'll just say this.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I'm not, but
we do live in an era of like every movie is a fucking multiverse. There's some version of the Sixers in the multiverse where they stayed healthy and there was a higher ceiling for this team.
Lose in the second round because
you can bag
don't meet the moment.
Bag on Embiid and Paul George all you want. Both guys have had very credible, remarkable careers. Joel Embiid was MVP 2 years ago. Paul George has been All-NBA a number of times. He led a couple of teams to the conference finals against LeBron early in his career. I know it was a long time ago. I'm just saying, before you just like completely destroy these guys, I just want to note for the record here, in a world where Joel Embiid stayed healthy and plays at the MVP level that he was playing at before he got hurt last season, in fact, he was exceeding the level that he played at in his MVP season. The problem is health more than anything. You can say it's about character and whatever else you want to put on him, Logan, but like it starts with the health problem. And so let's just get back to the present. The present is this. The season's toast. Joel Embiid, whether he needs knee surgery or they'll call it a procedure because they don't like calling things surgery. Shout out City Slickers. They're going to end up doing something, and we'll see what Joel Embiid is next season. But this season is done. It's gone. And so, yeah, of course you should lean into the tank. Of course you should shut down Joel Embiid. Of course you should either, whatever Paul George is, he's banged up. Everybody's banged up. If he's not, give him an injury. Find something. Let the season go. And
can the NBA fine Howard Beck for telling a team to just put an injury on a player? Can they do that?
Just try it. Just go ahead, try it, NBA. But the six goes to Oklahoma City if it's outside of the top six, right? So right now the Sixers are right on that line. They're at sixth worst record in the league, so sixth spot in the lottery odds rankings. The nothing is guaranteed, right? Like you could finish bottom six and have the lottery balls get away from you, and you could drop to eighth in the pecking order if somebody leapfrogs you, and suddenly you're losing the pick anyway. But you got to give yourself the best chance to actually keep the pick and draft a top six guy, because if it becomes the seventh or eighth pick or whatever it's going to be and it goes to Oklahoma, like, I mean, I'm trying not to depress producer Cliff too much here. Or,
he won a Super Bowl 2 weeks ago. He's fine. Get out of here.
But Philadelphia's going to come unglued if this team crashes and burns as hard as it is and loses the pick. And you've got to salvage something from all of this. And that's the way to do it. Like that's it. It's lean into the tank, lean as hard as you have to. If that means fines from the league, if it means like league investigators, like, setting up camp in your facility, fine, whatever. Just do what you got to do. Keep the pick.
I don't know what I'm supposed to add to that. Like that's it. Why get him the surgery? This is there's no room for debate about this. Like, there's no room for debate. If the man is banged up to the point where that knee won't get healthy without a procedure, whatever you want to call it, get that done. Priority number one. Once that happens, it is a wrap, and we need to get as low as we can get in the standings to try to protect that pick. Done. However that happens, I mean, if you got another way around it and you can assure me that, we'll go with that option. But as of right now, I see losing basketball games is the best way to do that, and that's what I think is the call for the Sixers right now. It sucks, but that's where we are.
Thank you, Howard Beck. Thank you, Raja Bell. Thank you, Cliff Augustin. We'll see you Friday. All the shits. Bye.